Look, I've been trying to figure out what's going on with Shiftry ever since I first saw it in Generation 3, and guess what? Scarlet and Violet made things even more confusing. Shiftry, a grass and dark type Pokemon that serves as the final evolution to Seedot, the little nut boy. I had always thought it was mildly neat, but there was something about the appearance that gave it that extra little twinge of mystery. Even though it's been a Pokemon that has appeared in some fashion in the games ever since 2002, now we're finally at the point where everybody is talking about it, since the return in Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's Teal Mask DLC. And honestly, the land of Kitakami is the perfect place to bring it back to life. So Shiftry has a lot of elements that make up the design. I like that it has a mouth resembling a nutcracker having evolved from Seedot. But most of all, the design and some of the lore ties it to a yokai known as the Tengu. Ah yes, back to the realm of yokai, which actually I think is such a cool idea, because it makes a great counterpart to the Ludicolo evolution line, which are based on a yokai as well. Anyway, Tengu are basically large birdmen. Really, it's a lot deeper than that, though there is so much to them that I can't really discuss all of it at the moment, but just know that they're worth looking into more, and we'll discuss what's most important concerning Shiftry. So there are basically two types of Tengu: Dai Tengu or Greater Tengu, and Ko Tengu or Lesser Tengu. Dai Tengu have an appearance closer to that of a man with a long nose and large wings. They live in the mountaintops and spend their lives in thoughtful meditation, intent on perfecting themselves. They possess greater pride, wisdom, and power than their Ko Tengu cousins. They're very spiritual beings. Meanwhile, Ko Tengu are more bird-like in appearance. They're monstrous and have little respect for humans, being known to torment them, taking joy in doing so. They especially revel in sacrilege, basically the opposite of the Dai Tengu. Tengu Daoshi is an audio phenomenon which occurs deep in the woods. It is characterized by the sound of a large tree falling down and the crashing vibrations of it hitting the forest floor. Often it is accompanied by a powerful gust of wind. So with all of that taken together, I think we can start to piece together how Shiftry fits in. Basically every Pokédex entry for it ever since Ruby and Sapphire has said the same thing more or less. Shiftry is said to live atop towering trees dating back over 1,000 years. It creates terrific windstorms with the fans it holds. A Pokemon that was feared as a forest guardian. It can read the foe's mind and take preemptive action. So we have the idea of it living secluded from humans in the forest, potentially mountainous regions. We see the motif of the powerful winds it can create, as well as maybe a hint towards its mental abilities. There isn't much about it being terribly violent, and while dangerous, the descriptions lead more toward a stoic guardian Pokemon. And with the fact that Shiftry has a long nose and it looks more human-like than bird, it's probably a Dai Tengu rather than a Ko Tengu. And that's all well and good if it weren't for the crazy new Pokédex entry we got in Scarlet and Violet. Legends tell of a bird Pokemon that received divine punishment for its evil deeds, and had its beak and wings replaced. Okay, so immediately that throws our perception of Shiftry into question. Of course, this is just a Pokédex entry, which often makes some of the most outrageous claims, and on top of that, it is stated to be only a legend. But why include details like that now of all times? Because it gives Shiftry two big connections to a Ko Tengu rather than a Dai Tengu. First, the fact that it used to be a bird, and second, that it had an evil personality. Though I guess that does fit the dark type a little better. Really, I guess it's kinda neat because now it makes Shiftry a sort of an all-encompassing Pokemon when it comes to the inspiration. But now I'm just trying to imagine what the heck it would look like with wings and a beak. Obviously just a legend, because there's no way this is true for every Shiftry, especially with the fact that it's the final stage in an evolution line. It reminds me of other Pokédex entries that give a supposed explanation for a Pokemon's origin when they clearly evolved from their previous stages. It's most likely that this is a legend specific to the land of Kitakami, which is a very Japanese location and has mountains and forests where Shiftry would fit right in. This all gives us an idea of how the people of Kitakami view Shiftry a lot closer to the legends of the Tengu. It is a very mysterious Pokemon that is unlike any other grass type seen before, and with its relationship to the wind, it makes sense as a backstory that people would come up with. But the big reason people have been talking about Shiftry lately is because Generation 9 has given it a new ability in the form of Windrider. This is an ability originally made for Bramblegast, which gives it immunity to wind-based moves as well as an attack boost when hit by one. I love this idea because it was able to play around with more of these secondary identifiers for moves, and honestly it could be pretty dangerous in the right hands. Thematically, it works really well for Shiftry because it finally ties in the idea of it creating powerful winds that we've been reading about in the Pokédex for all these years. Works so much better for it than early bird like it used to have. While I didn't really get the chance to use this strategy all too effectively in my second playthrough of the Teal Mask, I'm sure it'll be fun to use in online battles. Though I've never really been all that good in the more competitive Pokemon, so I don't know a thing about it. Huh? Though in the anime we see an interesting way of mixing things. Episode 37, Jump for Joy, begins with a Shiftry kidnapping a Nurse Joy from a remote Pokemon center in the mountains. Yeah, okay, that definitely sounds like something downright wicked. Of course, Ash, Brock, Max, and May arrive, but find the Pokemon Center completely empty, eventually stumbling across security footage that reveals she was swept up by the big guy, apparently even having used another Pokemon stun spore to keep her unconscious. Ooh boy, this ain't looking good. Brock goes into extreme simp mode and is adamant about rescuing her. After running into the forest toward the very inconspicuous giant tree, they encounter oppositions along the way. We get an episode of the main cast meeting the rest of the evolution line of Seedot and Nuzleaf. Also a bunch of oddish, because. As you would expect, it's revealed that Shiftry brought Nurse Joy in to help with a sick Nuzleaf. So here Shiftry takes on more of the Forest Guardian role, caring for all the grass types as their leader. But it's still a very dangerous Pokemon that isn't completely trusting of humans. It at least knows that Nurse Joy would be able to help the sick Pokemon, but when it learns that Ash and the gang are getting closer, it leaves to personally fight them off. And dang, it makes such a cool entrance and is ready to throw down. I do really like this idea of initially introducing it as a Pokemon that is supposedly the villain, only to show that it's really just making sure all these smaller Pokemon around it are safe. Again, it kind of brings together both sides of Shiftry's personification, and it's a pretty cool way of doing so. Oh, and if you're wondering about the rest of the episode, Shiftry learns to trust even more humans because everyone else is able to help Nurse Joy with the treatment. So the Nuzleaf makes a full recovery and is alright, a nice little wholesome ending. I think it's a great debut for the Pokemon and even really the entire evolution line, and really gets across the ideas I think they were going for. Okay, but have you ever wondered why Nuzleaf has nipples? So that was basically the story of Shiftry, a cool Pokemon, though maybe it had a little too much competition in its debut generation. I enjoyed looking back on it, especially with its lore and inspirations, and how it's been able to stay relevant with the games continuing to remix Pokemon by filling new regions and areas with some old favorites while giving them some new moves and Pokédex entries to keep them fresh. As alluded to earlier in the video, my friend Waste is making some Pokemon Showdown videos on his new channel and suggested we both release Shiftry videos on the same day, so you should definitely give it a watch. He's one of my real life friends and I love watching videos he makes because they're just really good, though a bit edgier than what I post here. This video is technically being released in October, though it won't count as one of my Halloween videos, but expect more in the same vein about some other favorite spooky Pokemon. And if you want to rep the land of Kitakami and Yokai, I've got the Red Moon Bear design on my Redbubble store, amongst some others that you might enjoy. Anyway, I should probably get going before night falls in the forest. No matter what stories are true, something lurks among the trees and I wouldn't want to get caught in the wind. Thank you to every channel member for your continued support, especially the great Gators, Cheeseburger Lasers, Justin R, Cosmo Zero, Lil Swiss, Meme Supreme, Mochizuki Yoru, Nomad Nobi, Phantom, Quago, Taijirai, Volity, and Pastel Blood. If you would like to support, get your name shouted out here as well as access to emotes for comments, live streams, and sometimes early videos, you can become a channel member today. You can also follow me on Twitter as well for more memes. Anyway, this has been GatorX, I'll catch you all later.
Game Boy Advance 見たこともないポケモン謎が深まるストーリー2対2のバトル新しい冒険はもう始まっているポケットモンスタールビーとサファイア